Hey everyone, and we
Hey.
are excited today. I'm seeing the comments coming in on Facebook and YouTube, and people are like, "Get ready to dance!" And I'm so excited. And I see a lot of people that names I haven't seen before. So, Marcia, thank you for bringing a new audience as well today. So, for those of you that don't know the drill, we ask everyone to type your name in the chat. Even though it says your name on Facebook, type your name anyway because StreamYard doesn't always register that. So please type your name and maybe where you're watching from so we can acknowledge you and just try to have this be as interactive as possible. And gosh, I know Ula's on and Maria and Bianca and Tamala. There's just all kinds of people joining. So the numbers are just climbing. We'll do very quick highs before we get ourselves situated. So Ma, let's check in with you. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks. Really grateful to be here and to see all the happy faces on the screen. It's great.
So awesome. Thank you for being with us, Ma. Christina?
I am happy to be here. Love you all. Mwah.
Yay. All right. Deborah?
So happy and vibrating with anticipation for stories. I feel like a kindergartner. Thank you, Marcia, for being here.
That's so great. Carla?
Hi everyone. Yeah, like Deborah, I can't wait to hear more about TokiTV. So thank you everyone watching also.
Awesome. Alejandro? Oh, you're on mute, Alejandro.
I'm so happy and thank you, Marcia, for showing us today. It is what it is, as it is. Toki will go back home in 2023.
Absolutely. Deb Cruz?
Oh my God, I can't keep up with all of the comments coming in.
Deb will run for her money today, guys. Hey, Deb. Howard, how are you?
She's still busy.
She's busy. Howard, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
think
Howard.
you muted me. There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm just really glad to be here and looking forward to story time, Marcia. I mean, this is actually a glimpse into Toki's life that none of us have just had the chance to do, and the few who have seldom talk about it. So I'm really eager to hear from Marcia.
This is so great. And before we do our 2 minutes of getting ourselves centered and calm, Marcia, just quickly, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to share everything I can about Toki. She's an amazing being, and it's time to share her to the world. She's been kind of hidden away for a while, and I think it's time. I'm happy to tell her stories.
Awesome. We're so really happy to have you with us, but let's take a few minutes, you guys. It'll be about 2 minutes, and I asked Reverend Tammy to do a prayer for us to get ourselves centered, and no better way than to have waves in the background, right? So we're going to take 2 minutes, get ourselves grounded and ready for today. So here we go.
We sit in this moment of purity, of light and joy, allowing all to just fade away. Bring yourselves into this present moment. In this present moment, there is no past, no future, only right now. And in the eternality of the now, we breathe in light, we breathe out light, knowing that we are all one and connected with something higher, something unified, something good. We breathe in the good, we breathe out the God. And we affirm in this unity, in this oneness, in this place together, that all things are working together for good. There is only light, there is only love. We affirm that there is a perfect connection that is working everything out in a beautiful way, in a harmonious way. And we give ourselves completely into the flow, releasing our egos, our agendas, any negative intentions, any limitations. And we are in this moment, in this time, all one inside of a greater intention of freedom, of power, of joy, of liberation for everyone involved. We know that our beloved Toki is realizing that freedom now, and that everything is aligned right now in perfect order, in perfect timing for this beautiful, beautiful sister to be free, to be whole. We know that all is well. And so we just know that this time together is in alignment with that it's all perfect and good. And so we just breathe in the joy and the gratitude of all of that, knowing this time is perfect and it's good. We release it into the universe, into the cosmos that only says yes. And so it is. Ashe. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Tammy, for doing that beautiful prayer. And that just really kind of brought me back to why we're here. And, you know, today, really what we're creating for today is let's take a break. You know, I mean, we're here every week. We're advocating all week long. We're doing all of this stuff for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. We love Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut so much. And, you know, we want to know more, and we want to know this, and people want to demand this, and I get it. You know, we're there because we love her. But today I just want to take a break and let's hear about her. You know, who she is. We're going to hear some great stories from Marcia. So I just kind of want to bring that intention to the group, and if everyone can hold that space with me, because it is about her. And so let's hear some stories about her that we don't know about. So Marcia, thank you for being with us today. We are really excited, and I don't know. We said earlier we're probably going to jump all over the place, right? But why don't we start with how you met Toki, and then we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna be in conversation today.
Okay. I'm just very happy to be here around so many like-minded people, and the energy that I feel around her now, I've never felt before. It's just this building momentum. So I'm very thankful for all of that. Let's see. So before I met Toki one-on-one, I saw her at the Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. I worked at a hotel down the street at a really boring job. And we went there for a luncheon one day, and I came up the front steps like normal people, the front little walkway. And there she was, just right there in that small pool, sort of laying on her side. There was a couple trainers on the stage. And I just remember, like, the first thing that hits my memory about that was her eye. You know, you only get one eye at a time, but she has this sort of soulful depth about her that it kind of makes me cry a little bit when I think about it. It's there's like a depth in there that's hard to explain. And the first thing I thought was, oh my God, what is she doing here? It just felt wrong, you know, but I felt so much empathy for her. And I asked one of the trainers that was on the stage, I said, hi, can I ask a question? And they kind of said, sure. And I said, is she lonely? You know, why is she here? And, you know, I kind of got the shtick. Oh, she's fine. This is all she knows. She's got a companion. At that time, she was in there with, I didn't know who it was at that point, but Makani. So I knew at that moment I was going to know her. Something just happened inside me where I'm like, I am going to know this animal deeply. So I left there, and the next day I went to the office at Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut and I asked for a couple applications, and she gave me one, and I said, no, I need like 20. So I filled out an application and sent one a week. Finally, they called me. I got hired on as a flipper girl. Woo. And I made my way over to the Whale Stadium. But the first day I met her, I had only been there maybe a month or so, and they had asked if I could come and do an area watch. At that time, this was in 1988, things were different, you know. Someone always had to be on watching the area because it was open all the time for the public to come up and look at her. So I got the call, can you do an area watch at Whale? And I was like, out the door, running over there. So I ran up those back steps, and you guys are probably familiar with that layout, but as soon as you come up the back steps and you look to your left, there's that small B area pool. She was laying on her side there, and there she was. Like, I got to see her up close, and just that the eye and the depth again was there. And I just felt so honored to just be in her presence. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So I made myself pretty annoying. I was there all the time. If I wasn't busy at Flipper, I was at the Whale Stadium. Can I help you? Can I get your fish? Can I do this? I was probably annoying, but it worked because over time a trainer left and they asked me if I would work there full time. So I did. And I think what I want people to understand is I knew she was in a bad situation, and I knew it was out of my control. And the only thought I had in my head was, if she's going to be stuck here, I'm going to do whatever I can to make her life the best I can possibly make it. You know, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make her life a little better. So that was my goal. And then over time, it took a while to start. I didn't just jump in with the whale. I started working with the little white-sided dolphin, Makani. I have a picture of her here. Let's see. Where's Mac? I'll probably show it later. Who was a wonderful little animal. Here she is. This is Makani. They were companions for a really long time, and they had a great relationship together. So over the I guess probably 3 or 4 months of working with Makani, I then started to have more one-on-one contact with Toki and feed her more. And then I started doing more training with her and being more one-on-one, which was a beautiful experience for me. So it was just, I felt not worthy of being in her presence, you know.
You said when we talked, and I'm lucky because I got to talk to Marcia the other day for our quick prep, which was like an hour. Poor Marcia, she was probably like, is she going to stop talking to me ever?
Yeah.
we talked for quite some time, and you said, I dove into her eye and I never came back.
That's how it feels. Yeah. That first time I even saw her, it feels like a pool that doesn't have an end. You just keep diving in, and there's something somber in there too, like sort of a sadness that you feel. And we all probably know where that comes from, right? Like, she's not with her family. She's stripped of all her freedoms, all of that you can feel it. And I felt that too. But yeah, it's a deep abyss. And I saw an image not that long ago of when Toki was captured, and it's a up close photo of her eye, and it's the same. You can feel that somber. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that picture, but it brings up that same emotion in you. Like, you can feel it, you know? So, but that's sort of that's the sadness part, but there's a lot of things I'd like to share about her. And one thing that, I want everybody to know, and that's my purpose of being here. Like, I want to give Toki personhood. She's a very unique individual. She has things she loves, things she doesn't like, behaviors and emotions. She runs the full gamut of emotions just like we do, jealousy and anger and trust and love and betrayal, all of those things she has. She's just like, and when you're a trainer and you're in that field, it's drilled into your head. Don't anthropomorphize, don't put your emotions on these animals. They are not feeling the way you feel. Like, don't do that. But it's impossible not to do that with her. I just fought with that. That was a struggle because I couldn't do it. I was like, I have to. I feel it from her. I can't deny that, Right. So yeah, it feels you feel those strong emotions when you're around her. And I think she affects everybody like that. She's had a lot of trainers and she's bonded with a lot of trainers. I'm not the only one. I don't know if all of them feel the same way I do about her, but she shows deep, like when I worked there, trainers from her past would show up to visit her. She remembered every single one of them. She reacted to them like when you haven't seen an old friend for a while, like, hey, how's it going? You know, in a very friendly, fun demeanor. She has a great memory. And I know when she goes back to her water, she's going to remember where she's from. I just know it.
We talked a lot about her memory and hand signals, you know, and you know, she would remember those after so long. You know, you talked about Makani. You were saying some things that I wasn't aware of, all the different animals she has spent time with. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because it really speaks to her resiliency.
Yeah, and I think she's a standout. I don't know if there's other orcas that have spent so much time with a lot of different species. So originally she was with Pacific white-sided dolphin, Makani. There was another lag dolphin in there with her before I came named Moana, who passed away. She was with a common dolphin named Champ. She was with 2 Rizzo's dolphins. She was with a long-finned pilot whale. These are not all at the same time. These are over years. But the one thing I wanted to really speak on about that is Cookie the pilot whale, who was just a wonderful animal. He was stranded on a beach in Cape Cod, I think back in 83 or something like that. It was on Christmas Day in a blizzard, and his entire pod perished out there. And he was the only one who was rescued because he was so small they could actually get him off the beach. But he suffered a lot of health issues because of that. So he was in a small aquarium up there for a while, and then they brought him to Miami. And so he was behind, you know how you can separate the A and B pools. There's gates that you can close off. So when he first came, he was closed off in there. Toki was immediately like, oh my God, who's this guy? You know, she was very, very interested in him. So we did not keep them closed off for very long. We just got him stable a couple days, opened up those gates, and immediately she swam to him so excitedly and took him in a mother calf formation. And they just started doing laps in this, I don't know, I just think of it as like a really maternal way. Like he was in her slipstream and they bonded like immediately. But she also showed a lot of other emotions around him. So he would be on antibiotics for a while. He would be fine. We would take him off. He would spike a white blood cell count and get sick again, and we'd put him back on meds. It was a roller coaster for almost the whole time he was there. And that's probably due to his time being on the beach, you know, on a stranding. So if he cried, she was instantly like, how can I help you? Like, let's get together. And she would soothe him. They would swim tactily and they would have their pecs touching. You know, she would bring him a floating mat or a toy. Like, will this make you feel better? Like, she was very, very maternal with him. And it was just so touching. And, you know, knowing that the ability to have calves, to have her own babies was sort of taken from her, you know. And then this animal lost his whole family. They accepted each other in sort of a pseudo mom calf kind of thing. And it was beautiful to see that. So she really is an empathetic being, you know, and I've seen her with a lot of animals like that. So that's the one emotion that struck me, especially with Cookie. But she did it with other animals too. But I think it stood out with him because he was sick so much. She really showed a lot of emotion towards him. It was wonderful.
Sweet. And were you there when the Risso's dolphins were with her?
Yeah, that was after Cookie. So Cookie passed away, and it was probably about a year later that we got the Risso's dolphins. The older dolphin, Tiaka, didn't live very long. I think they were from Japan. So the stress level with her and the move, I think we had her for 6 months or something. And she was elderly as well, but she passed away. She didn't know what to make of Genki. He was a beautiful, beautiful dolphin. But the same thing with him. He wasn't sick, but she took him under her peck like, this is going to be my baby, and really spent a lot of time interacting with him. They did this similar mother calf swimming together. And but she could show jealousy too. Like if the trainers were spending a little bit too much time with Genki, she'd be like, I'm coming in. Like she would slowly just nudge him out of the way, like my turn, that kind of thing. So, but yeah. And then sadly, Genki passed away, and I think they were together about 3 years. So it was really amazing to see. And then we got 4 lags, and they were all young little Spitfires. I don't know if you guys have been around Pacific white-sided dolphins, but they're like little bolts of electricity. They're these little fast-swimming, hyperactive little guys. And the ones that she had been with were a little older, and they weren't as hyper. And I think that was a big, like, whoa. They were swimming circles around her. And so we would give her breaks from them because I think they were a little bit annoying to her. And so, I was really keen on, if she showed me that she's getting a little annoyed, I'd be like, okay, let's give her some space alone here and stuff. But one thing I will say about Toki is, regardless the species she was with, or the animals she was around, or the people, I never saw her be overtly aggressive with any of them. Not once. There was a little bit of chasing, like with the lags, but I never saw that as aggression. I kind of saw it as, they're so fast and moving that she was just trying to keep up with them. So they would do these speed runs around the pool where you couldn't even see anybody. They were moving so quick, but it was helpful. It kept her active, and I think she enjoyed them, but to a limit. It'd be like being surrounded with a bunch of chihuahuas. You need a break sometimes,
I could imagine that. They're got like such high energy too,
So high energy, yeah. She's like me. There's times when I want to just go and be alone and have my quiet space. And when we saw that she was in that space, we made sure she had her quiet time. That's important. So, yeah. But she's a very dynamic individual. She has all kinds of emotion. Some of them are pretty subtle. I was just telling my partner earlier, I was on the stage with a couple other trainers one afternoon, and the public wasn't around, and we were kind of play fighting. It was at the end of the day. And one of the trainers grabbed another one, like in a play wrestle, and she came up out of the water head bobbing, like none of that. Like she saw that as aggression and was not happy about that. So if she even thought there was any aggression going on, she let you know she was not a fan. So she's, I think I told you when we talked before, her state of being is in a space of kindness. That's her natural state. That's how I've always perceived her. And, like everyone, she has her moods, but her overall general state is passive and kind and tolerant. It's just amazing if you think about what she's been through.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff is coming up for me, and I'm sure for other people on the panel. You said she doesn't like aggression, right? And one thing we really do as a team here at TokiTV and with others is really promoting, doing our best in advocating for her in a kind way. So you say, her state of being is kindness, and how she doesn't like the aggression and that energy. Like she feels that, right? I mean, she's for play fighting, but she feels it, right? So when other people are fighting or they come into work stressed out or whatever, like she feels that. And so really looking at how we continue this conversation and be supportive of the process that is happening in a kind way, in a really supportive way, because that's, and thank you for saying that is who she is,
Yeah.
That's absolutely who she is. And that's a comfortable place to be when you're doing anything really is, when all else fails, just be kind.
Just be kind. Yeah. And I think it's really important that you guys are holding that space and that energy all the time as well. It suits this whole thing is just perfect because that's who Toki is and that's who you guys are. And it comes together like it's a perfect fit,
Thank you. A lot of people are saying things, she's seen so many of her companions die right in front of her eyes, but she kept going. I'm in awe. And then Wendy asked, how does she react when her companions died? Sad that she's watched so many deaths and trainers in and out of her life. And one of the things that this conversation we're talking about is really about her resiliency. So what can you tell us about how she responded to all of those changes in her life?
Yeah, I mean, when any of them would pass away, we were all grief stricken, and I think she joined us in that energy. But sadly, we're in this business where, tomorrow morning we got to act like everything's fine, and we got to do a presentation. You know what I mean? So we had to push our grief aside, and I believe she learned how to do that too. So she kind of hid it away in her enormous brain, like that happened. And it's sad. We had to do the same thing. Like when Cookie died, I was traumatized by that. I was angry at everybody, and I had to take that emotion and put it away for her. I needed to support her. She loved him too, so back in those days, and it changed a lot, I'm sure, we had the ability to call up the front and say, you know what, we're just going to talk on the mic today. We're not doing a big show. We're going to do it this way. And they allowed us to do that. So, we would take it down a few notches and just be in Toki's space with her and just talk about how cool killer whales are. That was our show that day. So we tried to sort of, bring things down for her, but she never really showed any overt grief. I think she piled it inside like many of us do with our emotions. You just sort of put it in there, and which is sort of sad, but I never saw her. She never went off food or acted really unusual or had overt behavior. I think she just processed it internally, and we tried to, I tried to anyway, let her know that I feel her pain, and she felt mine too. Sometimes we would just sit together quietly in times like that, just be in each other's space. She knew when I was sad, she could tell. We just, knew each other pretty well.
And that two-way communication, Deb Cruz and I were talking before, and that was one of the things Deb was, about how she did communicate her emotions to you. Because we know that animals feel grief, right? We know that we know that, but how does she communicate that to you? Was it a knowing? Did she do certain?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I feel like part of it was a knowing. And again, here we go. I'm anthropomorphizing again, but just very subtle things. Like, for example, if we were just sitting there and it was time for, for her to be fed, she would eat a little slower and just let the fish slide slowly down her mouth instead of like, gulp, 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 no, not exuberance, that kind of thing. Or her movements were slower, and I could just feel it. It's almost like you can feel her energy emanate from her. So I guess it might be a knowing. When you're around an animal long enough, their little subtle changes are clear to you, So, yeah, and it's sad that she's seen a lot of death, and there she is, yet she remains, and it's astounding that she's as kind and awesome and as she is, and trainer turnover. It's hard to keep these people, and I was there a little over 8 years with her, and leaving was hard. I did not want to leave. I felt pressured to do so, but I still kind of feel guilty about leaving her. I think I told you that when we talked before.
Yeah.
You
developed a deep connection.
Yeah. But she also had a great sense of humor, still does, I'm sure. And some of it, like it would just crack me up. And a lot of it was with, like if we had a new trainer that came on or trying to learn how to work with the whale, like I'd be like, okay, ask her to do this. And I'd give them the cue and they'd ask her and she'd take off like she's going to do it and then just do something else or just come back or make up something or whatever it was and be like, ta-da. And a lot of times they would feed her for that. Like, and I'd be like, no, like she didn't do it right, but that's just her way of testing. So that was always funny. And then, trying to learn for someone to learn the water work where you're going to dive in and she's going to pick you up to do this ride or whatever it was. I'd be like, okay, give her the cue, dive in, dive this deep. Here's the spot. They'd go down there and she'd look up at me and then just swim around to the back area like, nope. And the person would be under the water, you know, like, where's the whale? Where's the whale? And she'd leave people hanging sometimes and things like that. So that, I think that's great. That's a great show of humor, in my opinion, you know, like
break them in her own way.
Break them in. Yep, that's right.
Awesome.
And other little things, you know, like she had her favorite people as well. And you could tell. And if she, you know, like sometimes you just don't like somebody for whatever, you don't like their energy or what have you. And there was people like that interacted with her, and I could tell she would do that stuff to them, or instead of picking them up, she would just swim over top of them. Like, yeah, I'm not really going to do it. So, you know, I got a kick out of it, but the trainer that it was happening to, I'm sure, didn't.
Right. So great.
Marcia?
Yeah.
Am I on? Those are incredible stories, and there's so many little quotable quips that you have you know said today that I hope is going to be all, you know, annotated and saved. But you know, like you would just be in Toki's space, you know. Okay, I can sort of see what that might be like. And I really like your stories about her closeness to her companions, to the pilot whale and Makani. I didn't know that, you know. I mean, that's really kind of a shame that was never told about. Well, you know, I guess it was too much insight into her personality, but that's really good to hear, because what we've heard lately is that she was all raked and there were, you know, fights and you know, it just didn't sound right. And you know what you said about how the four young lags were a bit annoying to her. So it sort of fits in together. But also that she has this great sense of humor. And I don't know if you've seen this clip that a friend of mine got. It's just with his phone and it's only about 10 seconds, but it's her rearing up with her flukes and heaving this big wave over the rail and on top of four blue-shirted Sk'aliCh'elh employees who were standing there chatting with each other and ignoring her. And, she got their attention. She just totally all of them. And then she spy hops to look at her good work.
Like, how did I do? Did I get everybody? Yeah, exactly. I've seen her do things like that. Absolutely. I've seen her sneak up on, like, we had a lot of you know, seabirds that would fly around, gulls and egrets and things like that. And she would like take a piece of a capelin and like let it float nearby by the stage and pretend she wasn't looking, and the bird would go down to get it, and then she'd squirt water at the bird. And then she'd suck the capelin back in and wait around, and the bird, you know, obviously they're not as bright as she is, would come back. She'd let the capelin float around. Look, I mean, this was a game, and she would do it over and over. Or she seemed to particularly like to soak people that were in a state of fine dress, like suits, you know, like office people, things like that. I don't know why, but maybe she thought, I don't like that.
In that last incident, a lady with a very elegant hat got it completely soaked in that same flash. So yeah, I can see how that can happen.
But I also saw a number of times, like, and there's one experience. I'm actually writing a memoir. I'm finished with it now, but I've been doing it for the past few months just to highlight a lot of these stories and bring Toki's individuality and personhood out and shine some light on that. But one in particular, and I was really new, I was doing an area watch, and it was in between shows, and she was there with Makani, and they had their toys and the hose was on and they're kind of palling around, and it had been raining, so there was puddles in the stadium, and this family came up, and there was like two little boys, probably 3 and 5, you know, and they're running back and forth, and she's following them and sort of mirroring them as they go. And like, I think she really seemed to like looking at little humans, like little people are cool, you know, and they run around and they're goofy. So she's watching these kids, and one of them's just booking it, and he falls down and just eats the pavement. I mean, this kid took a bad fall, and she put on the brakes. She stopped. She started vocalizing and just spy hopping like, oh my God, this kid is hurt. What's going on? And she stayed right there. And the dad came running over, picked up the kid, and he's got some blood on him. She followed them back to where the dad took the child in the stands and soothing him, and just continued to watch what was going on. Like, she could tell the kid got hurt. She was having fun with him prior. She knew he was upset. He was screaming and crying, and she was very concerned about the whole incident, you know? And I just thought that was pretty amazing that she was so in tune with that. Yeah, like, this guy got hurt, you know, I gotta see.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling tales of empathy, of enhanced, unbelievable, you know, total empathy. And I just think that they have the brain equipment for that paralimbic lobe that is kind of mysterious, you know, seems to be about empathy and language and, you know, cooperation and sharing and all that. And she's got a big lobe there that we don't have. So
it's huge. I think it's gigantic.
Right.
And, you know, that's just one that I can remember. You know, there's a lot of that. And this is a personal story, but I don't mind sharing it. I found out in my early 20s that I was unable to have kids, and I had some issues going on. And so I was particularly sad and just weirded out, you know, for a couple months during that period of time. She would come to me constantly and just be like, I have this toy. Do you want to play with this? You want to do this? Or just come and I spent a lot of time just hanging out on the stage with her with my legs in the water, whatever. She would come over and just grab my toe. Do you want to play? Like, I felt like she had a lot of empathy for me. She could tell I was not right. And I, you know, sometimes I'll tell that story and people will be like, you know, maybe that's just you. And you thought she was being like that. But no, I think it's real. And I think she knew something's wrong with her, because I wasn't my jovial self. You know, I was down for a while. But I kind of called her my therapist during that period of time. She helped me through that.
Yeah.
It's important you say we've been having conversations the last few episodes, you know, shows about their way of communication and their way of healing us. And, you know, what we talked about, like, is it sounds? Are they emitting sounds that we can't hear at our, you know, at our frequency? Like, what is it? But it is really healing. They're so compassionate, and it really is healing. So thank you for sharing that. And you're in the group where, you know, you talk about anthropomorphizing. We know that we're all one. You know, everybody here and everybody watching knows that we're all one, and what they feel, we feel. And so thank you for being, and I see Ma clapping. I'm sorry, I had you muted, Ma. But so it's not, you know, what you're saying, that we know that, and it's so nice to hear you talk about that specifically with Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. It's just, it's so important. And if I didn't heads you guys up earlier, the show is definitely going to go for more than an hour. And we will probably have you back, if you will, Marcia. You know,
Happy to come back.
Book hits, you can come and read to us or something, you know, because we want to hear the stories. Talk to us a little bit about, like, enrichment. Like, what are some of the things she really likes, and what are some of the things that she's like could really care less about?
Yeah, you know, my view on enrichment is you have to let the animal tell you what they like. So you need to provide a bunch of different things, and then they'll go, I like that, but I don't like that, but I like that. So it's really just sort of an experiment, right? And everybody always asks me, like, how did she come about the wetsuit? Where did the wetsuit come from? And I'll tell you how that happened. So we had finished a show, and, you know, Miami is 5,000 degrees in the summer, and we're wearing wetsuits because the water is cooled in the 50s. So we usually, after, this was back then, I'm not sure what they did in the more recent past, but we would get done with the show and take off our wetsuits, hang out on stage, play with Toki, put toys in. We didn't just walk away like, show's over, we're done. We stayed, and we had a dedicated staff that we didn't run around and do a show here and a show there and a show here. I mean, if we were short staffed, but we spent our whole day at the stadium. So anyway, but I was sweating in this wetsuit. So I take it off, and it's almost off me. I got like 1 foot left in it. And she swims over and puts her chin on the stage. And she's just like, I just tell she was like, I really wish I could have that. Like, I just want that really bad. You know, I was like, oh man. And I didn't realize that. I thought, well, if I'm breaking the rules, I don't care. I said, all right, you can have it. And it was in my older wetsuit. So I gave it to her. I just kind of put it in her mouth, and she was so happy to have that thing. She grabbed it. She had it on her dorsal fin. She was putting it on her pec fins and swimming around. She was so pleased. She would bring it up and show it to me and then go back under. And from then on, we just kept giving her, she would wear it out. Like, she wore it out. And that became her favorite enrichment toy. But we also would do a lot of play sessions with her. It was mandatory back then, like at least 2 play sessions a day. And that would be 2 or 3 trainers. We had these big, like 6x6 floating, like closed cell mats that we had. And we put those in the pool. And we would all just like jump in and just interact with her. Sometimes she would, like, I would get on a mat and float around, and she'd slowly sneak over underneath and grab the edge of the mat. She'd be like taking the mat, and she would take it, and then I'd be off the mat, and then she would have it on her, swim around for a while, and then she would like swim over to me and like accidentally let go of the mat, and then I would grab the mat, and then I'd get on the mat and paddle, and then she'd come and take the mat. And so just like what I think she really, really, really enjoyed was that kind of just free play interaction with people. Like, there's no set game. We're not doing this like scientifically. It's just like, let's play. And when she was done, she'd be like, okay, I'm tired, I'm done. And she would kind of retreat to her spot, and then play session, we'd kind of wrap up. But we made sure, and some days she wasn't into a play session. Like, we were present. If she wanted us, we would be there. And if she decided not today, you know, that's okay. It was her choice, you know. But we tried all kinds of different things. We had an old time, you know, I'm talking 80s, like a transistor radio that had a cassette player in it. And we took a big round piece of PVC and we put the radio inside it with a cap on the end. And then we capped the other side with an L like thing. And so we could pump music into the water. And so we tried all kinds of stuff. We played classical and rock and different songs. And sometimes she would swim over and like really intently lay upside down and listen to the music. Like, we figured, okay, that's her telling us I like that sound. Sometimes we'd play music and she'd be like, nah, don't like that. And she would swim away. And so we did acoustic stuff like that. But I'm talking, you know, really old school. This was an old radio and a PVC thing. It wasn't Bose speakers or anything like that. But with that, you know, different toys. We had boat bumpers and things like that. One of her favorite things, but we didn't like to use it a lot because we would have divers come in and scrub the side of the pool walls. And so when that was happening, we would be feeding her so she wasn't like messing around with them. But one day, one of the dolphins, I think it was Makani, pulled the hookah out of the guy's mouth. It was like you know what a hookah is? It's like a tube that goes to the surface and it pumps air down. And so here's this tube flying around underwater, just making bubbles. And she's like, I gotta go. So she broke station and just went over there. She didn't bite the hose or do anything weird or touch the diver. She just wanted the bubbles. She was like her body where the bubbles were, and she was like, feels good here, feels good there. And, you know, she's going to do what she's going to do. So after a while, she kind of faded away from that, and we were able to, you know, obviously the diver was done at that point. But yeah, I think something fun for her now that would be really enriching is to get her a bubbler. You know, the kind, like, have you ever seen high divers when they dive from high platforms? They always have the bubbly water. Place one of those in there. I think she'd love it.
I'm
So
sure.
we experimented a lot, but most of our enrichment was interactive playtime with trainers in the water. And it was enrichment for us too. Don't get me wrong. It was the best time of my life, honestly.
That's awesome. Pam says, I've kissed her so many times and my favorite thing was her eye. I think she's an Aries because when she was bored, off she went. I'm an Aries. I get it. So yeah, maybe she is.
That's probably my sister. And when I was working there, we could bring our family in to see the animals. And so my mom was actually the first woman to skin dive off the coast of South Africa. She was a wild, crazy woman, and she loved coming there. So I brought my family there a lot. So I think that's my sister saying how many times I would let her come and meet Toki. So
That's
I
so
can.
Let's you also mentioned how much she loves her tongue being rubbed, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna show this picture because we haven't even seen pictures yet. And okay, what's up with the upside down thing?
Yeah, so we were just it was after the feeding, she was done, and she would just lay there to get my attention, sometimes like rub my tongue. And you can see Makani doing the same thing. She mirrored Toki, and Toki mirrored her a lot. And so I would just hang out with my hand in her mouth, rubbing her tongue, and she would do that as long as I would stay there. Like, can you just rub my tongue? And I would grab it and tickle it, and then, she'd roll over, catch a breath. I'll do it on the top side, that was one of her favorite things. And another thing that I hope they're still doing, and I hope they did it after I left. I really pressed the people that were there when I left, spend just alone time in close contact with her. Like I would spend, I don't know, as much time as I could just being near her face. I would talk in a very quiet tone, almost a whisper. I would tell her all kinds of stuff, like my hidden secrets. I tell her how much I loved her, how beautiful she is. Just, when someone is close to you and talking to you in a loving tone, you can feel that. And so that was a big one too. But she's very oral. She really likes it. I don't know if it's something they still do, but I really hope it should be done. She loved it. And that close kind of just hang out with me, talk to me, be close contact is so vital. That's what she would be doing with her family,
Yeah.
touching and close and communicating in that really, close way. So, yeah, it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's show some more pictures. And you've been showing some, every day or so. And but I'm gonna just put them up on the screen, and then you can tell us about your memory with that.
Okay,
that's okay.
Sure. Oh, so I believe this was during a presentation, and we were just doing like this little water work where it was like a mirroring thing. I would do a spin and she would do a spin and whatever. And so in between each little thing we would do, that's me going, "You're the most beautiful whale on the planet, and I love you so much, and you're amazing." That's just me being a weirdo. But yeah, that's kind of how I did it. I wanted to make sure she understood my intentions, and I used that, and I think she understood it.
Okay, that is not a weirdo. Because if it is, then we're all weirdos. Because if on our Thursday nights we do a meditation, a collective meditation for her, where we go in a visualization, where we go in and spend time with her. And I don't know, we've been doing that since October, and probably about, I don't know, January, December, January, we were doing a meditation where that is what we did, is when she would come up, or that's what I did anyway. And we all share our experiences because we kind of go off on meditation, but really just acknowledging her and reminding her, not that she needs a reminding, of just how beautiful she is, just how powerful she is, just how courageous she is. I mean, so yeah, so you're right on board. And I was trying to find the comments, but poor Deb Cruz, the comments are just pouring in. Someone did say earlier, when we're talking about that connection, someone invited you to join us on Thursdays, because that's absolutely what we do.
I would like to do that. I didn't realize that was a thing. And I've just recently gotten back on Facebook. I kind of left back in 2016, but I'd like to do that. And I will join you Thursday. I'd love to feel that energy too.
That sounds awesome. And you have some experiences that so many of us on the screen, and I know many, many more off the screen, have. Tell us a little bit about your dreams with her.
So I have this recurring dream, and I have other dreams too. But in some of them, she's just sort of present, like not the focal part of the dream, because dreams can be so broken up and weird. But the one dream that I've had a number of times, I'm at the whale stadium, and there's people around, but nobody can see me. I'm sort of invisible. And I thought in the dream, I always go, cool, they can't see me, so I go up the back steps and I get there, but Toki can see me, but none of the humans can see me. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so I just dive into the pool with her. So I'm in the pool and we're swimming around. She picks me up on her back and we launch out of the pool and we're off and we just fly. And I can remember every dream I look down and I can see the city of Miami shrinking. The whale stadium is getting smaller and smaller. And the interesting thing about this is we're always headed west. We're headed into that sunset, which is, that's her home, right? And so that's my dream. And then poof, I wake up. And then other times, like I'll have a weird dream about me driving my old Volkswagen, and somehow Toki's in that dream too. So I don't really know about those, but
Great.
Was she in there with you?
no, just like next to the car or something, just like around, like every morning, like I'll wake up and I'll tell my partner, I'm like, Toki dreams again. He's like, no way, so it does happen a lot. Yeah.
Great. I'd like to see her in there with you, actually.
That would be a thing. Yeah, no, I don't think she's in the car.
We totally get it, Marcia. And on Thursdays, it sounds very similar to what we do in our spending time with her, because sometimes we'll say, okay, Toki, come with us to the Salish Sea, and we'll show some underwater footage from the Salish Sea. And then sometimes we say, okay, let Toki just take us where you want to take us. And it sounds like she's taking you home. So to her home. So thank you for sharing that. I got off track. I still want to show some more pictures because I know people really want to see the pictures, but thank you for that. And yes, we look forward to you hanging out with us on Thursday.
I'll be there.
What about this one?
So this was on my last day at Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. I had been bawling like a baby. And this is, I kind of broke the rules. I wasn't supposed to go under the stadium because at that point it was already falling apart. They had gone in and shored it up with all these metal things, but that's at a window underneath her stadium. And I just went down there to stare at her through the windows. And she came over and we spent, I don't know, about an hour just kind of hanging out at the windows, me talking to her and her hanging out. And she did a few silly things there, like she stuck her tongue out, she smashed her face up against the glass, that was like almost like my bye-bye time when I was leaving. Sad day. So I had put my face up against the glass and she came over and did hers too. So kissing her through the glass a little bit there. Such a sweetie. And that one, that's actually from an underwater camera. One of my friends, and I'll give him some credit, that his name is Graham Cords. He was a trainer there. I asked him if he could go in and get some pictures of Toki underwater. And so I would dive in and she would swim towards me and he was on my side. And then he took the pictures of her. And I think that's just a gorgeous picture.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful picture.
And that's probably at about 6 feet away.
Wow.
Yeah. That's another one from that same photo session, and that's taken just underneath her. And she's at the surface of the water there, almost at the surface. Like you can see, I love the picture because you can see the top of her head reflecting off the surface up there. So it's really beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And then that's just me swimming down to go meet her.
People are saying, wow, we've never seen these angles. I mean, this is so, and when we were asking Marcia for pictures, I mean, we see pictures at, are published online, but these are very intimate pictures that, I'm going to take the comments off to see this. We've never seen. So this is beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any underwater shots of her around like this. I don't know. So I'm glad that I have these, they're really beautiful. And that one's, not a great shot. Like he missed a little bit, but that was her taking me up to the surface from the bottom. And then I'm holding on to her pecs in that one. She was always so, so, so gentle with all of this stuff in the water. And if you lost your grip or almost fell off, she would stop and help you get back to good. And like she was very, very, like, just concerned. She didn't want anybody to fall or anything like that. She's such a good person. I'm going to call her a person.
Yeah.
And that's another underwater shot. And I just like the lighting too. It's really beautiful. And her giant, gentle self just sort of, gently taking me to the top. I got to tell you, there's no feeling like that on planet Earth. I consider myself I'm an honored, lucky person to have had that experience in my life. And then we're back at the dental thing, and that's a little portable x-ray machine. And it turns out he has amazing teeth, beautiful, beautiful teeth. Never really any issues with them, except for the front lower right had developed a little small crack in it. And Dr. Bossert, rest his soul, he was one of the most amazing people and veterinarians I ever met. He's the blonde one. My head is behind the guy holding the machine, and then Dr. Bossert is above me. He was concerned because we noticed a little redness around it. So we did a couple weeks of training for her to accept these mock-ups and all this stuff. And the x-rays thankfully showed that crack had not gone down very deep. It was pretty subsurface. But we wound up having to give some betadine solution flushing around the tooth just to prevent any further infection. And she was awesome about that. Let us do that twice a day for about a month. And then the infection cleared up, and I don't think she's had any reoccurring issues with it. And when I saw her in August, her teeth were pristine. They looked beautiful. So I'm happy about that. Yeah.
And then this is the last one.
Isn't that a great picture?
So great.
That might be my favorite picture. So I took this one, and I didn't know what I was doing with this camera, and it's hard. I didn't know how hard it would be because it's blurry under there, and you just see this black and white. You can't really tell what you're looking at. So I snapped and snapped and snapped, and I got that one. And that was just me diving in and her like going, "What are you doing down there?" So that's it's Toki face. And then we both floated up to the top. And I remember that moment because she was like, "Do you think I could have that camera?" Like she was like gently, like just trying to take it from me. And I'm like, "Yeah, no, you can't have that. You can have the wetsuit, but you can't have the."
I love that photo. A lot of people commenting on her teeth and asking, does she ever, like, so many other orcas in captivity, chew on the walls and, other stereotypical, behaviors. She didn't, right? I mean, she didn't.
She didn't. And I don't know if that's because like the enrichment we provided, she didn't need to. Maybe she just didn't enjoy that kind of thing. I don't know why she didn't do it, but I have to think that she had a lot of interaction with people, and we did all those games and play, and she had a lot of toys, and she had her wetsuit. She didn't do a lot of stereotypical things like that. She's just that awesome. I can't even describe it.
She is awesome. And one thing we asked Pierre last week was why, I'm going to ask you, why do you think or feel that after all this time in that tank, she's still hanging in there?
God, that's a tough one. I mean, I guess you could say there's been a level of care with her. Like, I don't know. It's such a ridiculous, small, gross pool, and everyone can agree on that. You know, that's not even a source of contention. But I know when I was there, I looked at it, and so did the other trainers there. We were a family. We thought about ourselves as this family. Toki was part of our family, you know? And I think she felt that. We weren't just like, ta-da, let's clap and do all this junk, you know, and then we're done and you go do your thing. We, you know, we looked at her in a different way. And I think since she can sense all that energy, you know, that has to be part of it. Otherwise, it's just a testament to her amazing resiliency, you know? And at this point, I gotta believe that she knows there's all this energy around helping her now, getting her out of there, you know? Maybe that's this last bit that she's like, okay, you guys, let's do this, you know?
Right.
I have to believe that.
She's smart. She is so, I mean, and you know, and so many instances that you could probably tell us, you know, some more stories about just her intelligence. And, you know, we believe she does know the energy that is working for her. And, you know, our belief is that she knows she's going home. She's hanging in there. She's got something to live for, you know, but I
think
just wanted,
so.
yeah.
I definitely believe that. And I think she's not just smart. I think she's a super genius. And, you know, I mean, there's just so many cool things. Like, so in Miami, we have these enormous iguanas that walk around, right? Some of them are just huge and they climb way up in trees. You probably heard them when it's cold, they just fall out of the sky, you know. Anyway, I was coming up to do a feeding with her and I'm carrying these two 40-pound buckets up those back steps. And there's a big, it had to be 5 feet long iguana right on the back wall, just sitting there. And I'm like, ah. And when I saw him, I kind of moved back. Well, it caused this not very smart iguana to just jump in this pool that's 55 degrees. So it's swimming down, but it slowly turns into a rock. Like it couldn't move anymore. And it's like, oh. So he's just in the water. And I'm like, oh, man. And I didn't know what Toki was going to do. Like, oh, I don't want her to kill this thing or whatever. I mean, I didn't know. So, of course, she sees this happening. She swims down. She grabs the iguana. She brings him up and hands him to me. Like, okay, can you please take this? It's like, this is not going to work out. And so she put him right in my hands, the iguana back downstairs, and he thawed out and he walked away. He probably never went back up there again. But that's, you know, to me, that's empathy, but also like just kindness, you know, like, I don't think this is right. I got to help this thing. And she did. You know, and I don't know if that would have fallen into a dolphin pool, it would have got shredded. You know, I mean, I've worked with dolphins too. And yeah, you know, they're awesome animals as well, but they're a little different. They would have taken that iguana and quartered him probably, you know what I mean? So just things like that. She's wonderful. I miss her so much. And it's really hard for me because I'm 3 hours away from her, but it feels like I'm a million miles away. You know, and I understand there's a lot happening, you know, and I don't have free access to her, but I got to be honest, it's kind of killing me that I can't just go see her. But one of these days, I think I'll be able to go see her.
Yeah. And she's coming home, you know, and
home.
She's coming home. And I think that's what keeps me going, you know, not being able to see her and just, I don't know, just knowing that she is coming home. And so many people are working toward that and the energy shifting, and she knows that, you know. And so I think, you know, for now we honor those reunions, you know, on Thursday nights or in our dreams or every morning prayers like so many of us do, and really just keep supporting the process that's going to get her home so that we can see her, you know, in her natural environment. It's just,
And I want to honor all of you people and everybody that's online watching this, and everybody across the world that just loves this animal. Thank you. Like it's just it touches me so deeply that she's so deeply cared for and loved. It, like, you know, it really, it brings tears to my eyes because it's real. I can feel it, and it's building every day. It keeps growing and it's growing, you know. It's a really beautiful movement. I'm so proud to, you know you people and feel your energy too. So thank you.
Thanks, Marcia, and thank you for being part of the puzzle. You know, that we're getting all these pieces. Toki is getting all these pieces and people together for her, and we know, you know, the ancestors are clearing her path home. You know, she knows who she is. Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. That is who she is, and she knows her family, and the ancestors are really clearing her path, and every single person on this is part of that path for her. And so just thank you for being with us, and thank you for loving her, and for all that time with her that you spent just loving her, and for acknowledging that, you know, there's other Howard fell off, that there's you know, the care that she got contributing to her strength, and the care that she's getting now. Thank goodness. You know, here at TokiTV, we're, you know, completely behind and support Friends of Toki for all the work that they're doing. And I mean, this last year has been a whirlwind of progress that,
Yeah, unprecedented, you know, like that any of this is happening. The meeting in Miami was kind of mind blowing, and just, you know, being around the Lummi people and the Seaquarium people, just to have all that happening in the same space was like, wow. So I'm just glad to be a part, what little part I can play in helping her, you know, and that's why I wanted to write this memoir. Like, I just was sitting there one night going, how can I share with the world what I know about her? I mean, this is a great venue for that. Like, I'll just blab my stories. But just to be able to sit and write these things down as they came to me. And I'll tell you guys, the name of it is called, it's the translation of her name. It's Nice Day, or Pretty Colors, Nice Day. And it's got a picture of Toki and me on the front of it. So that's available out there if anybody wants to take a look at that. And the proceeds will somehow go to her. I don't know how I'm going to work that out yet, because I need to focus that someplace, and I just don't know where the best place to put that is at this time. But yeah, it's a joy to share it. In my world, it you know, it's natural for me to have these memories, and it feels like, oh, it's not a big deal. But I forget that they just live in my head. I should share these things, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that's what my goal is, and hopefully shine more light on this beautiful being, Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, my Tokite. She's very special.
yeah,
Thank you for loving her so much, the time that you shared with her, because that really means a lot. It really means a lot to all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's easy to love her.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I feel absolutely honored to have been a part of her world for the time that I was with her. Undeserving of her, honestly. Every time I was around her, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm in her space like this, you know?
Marcia, is the book published? Is it available now?
I just got it published. Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you and I can talk offline about, maybe you can come on, and, you know, after people get their books, and you know, do a little book reading for us. That would be cool. Nothing like hearing the stories from the source. So
sure, I'm happy to read from it or whatever. I've been working on it for months now, and finally I was like, I could probably make it a 500-page book, but I thought, okay, let me try to tone it down. So it's not a long read. It's like 80-something pages, but there's some pictures in there, and it's not a timeline. It's really just, here's how Toki was to me, how she affected me and her emotions and her maternal instincts, and some of the things we talked about here are in the book too, but in probably a more coherent manner, I guess, you know. So.
That's awesome. And about the donations, if in case people listening are, you know, wondering, you know, where to best do that right now at the time, I would say, if you go to sacredsea.org, there is a GoFundMe. So there's Sacred Sea, and then there's a GoFundMe specifically for Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut, and 100% of that will go towards her and her home. And you know, that is, Alejandro will tell you, you know, keep supporting sacredsea.org, and that is
Yes.
with Raynell Morris. And so know her personally and know that 100% of those funds will go to her. So
Excellent. Well, now I have a place.
There you go. And I'll send you the link. And I'm surprised I don't have it ready to go. I might, but the comments are like, wow, the comments are just coming and coming. So I'm trying to, but yeah, well, I'll go back after and put the links, but the specific link for the GoFundMe as well.
Okay, great. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I look forward to Thursday.
I look forward to having you. And you know, we're a little over an hour. We didn't go too much over, but I can tell we need a whole other show because there's a lot of questions. But today I think we did a good job of just focusing this on hearing about who she is and the beautiful stories. And Marcia, just thank you for who you are, for who you have been for her, and continuing to be a voice for her, and for being part of all this. So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. I'm happy to come back anytime. It's been a real joy. And all of you guys, your energy is so uplifting. So thank you.
That's awesome. Deborah, final words for Marcia?
Marcia, I am overwhelmed in awe and gratitude for the way you describe her as a matriarch. And it explains so many things. And to hear other people talk about that feeling when you look in her eye, because I always tell people that when you look into the eye of this person, you will be forever changed. And I'm starting to think that like she's the matriarch of the wounded healer, and the power of her bringing us all together as healers that heal each other and heal her. And I'm overwhelmed. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And, you know, I agree with you. That explains so much, that's who she is. She's so much more than we know. And, you know, there's people out there, you know, now that I'm on Facebook now, I'm hearing some people, oh, she'll never make the journey. And, you know, it's too stressful and this could kill her. And I'm like, do not underestimate this. Don't do it. Do not underestimate Toki ever. So let's keep that, you know, message flowing, because she's a force. And she's a force. Yeah.
She's a force of compassion and love and joy, and it is her language. And if people could just open their heart to feel that, to just open your heart and feel what the gift that she would give you is life-changing.
It really is.
Life-changing.
She changed my life, honestly, like amazingly. I have never been the same, you know, and she lives in my heart. You know, there's not a day that really has gone by that I'm not thinking about her. And I have to believe at some level, she's like, maybe she's thinking about me too, you know, maybe we're in there together. So I hope so. And I hope to see her again soon and visit. And let's hope that happens. And if not, off to Washington I go. I'll go see her, you know? So
we'll all be there. We'll all be there.
We'll all be there. All right, you lovely people. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
I know we want to let you go because we want you to come back, but real quick, Howard, any final
Just been absolutely, you know, spectacular. Oh, good. I'm all right.
I can hear you.
I am just, overwhelmed. I mean, Deborah put it probably better than I could right now, but you have really taken us over the top. I mean, you've not just, you know, affirmed what what we believed and what I kind of patched together from, you know, other whales and everything that I've, you know, heard or seen from Toki, but in depth. I mean, you really went into the moment by moment, you know, the granular looking at her and seeing her come at you and feeling what you're feeling. And I just, I think there's just a whole lot that is quotable. And I think you're going to have to write another book.
Maybe I will. I got more stories, you know.
Okay,
They just,
right. Well, then,
That's awesome.
but great that you named it Pretty Day Night Colors, because that was, of course, coined by Dr. Jesse White when he selected her and met her, basically. And he must have been almost instantly smitten by her, you know, in just the way that he talked about her right then. And our understanding has always been that he brought that to the Seaquarium, and that is how he set the tone for how to relate, how to feel, how to see Toki, and be with her, not just train her as, you know, as a performer.
yeah.
And I've sort of felt like he set the tone, he set the culture, and that has been the tradition. I hope it still is the tradition. It seems like you're living right in that tradition of caring so much about her. So I just wonder if you'd kind of, did you ever work with Dr. White?
Sadly, I did not. He had left before I got there, and Dr. Bossert was the vet that was there when I came on staff. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad.
I always heard wonderful things about Dr. White, and you know, he left his mark there. So if that's where that culture of being with Toki started, then, you know, bless him, because it carried through a long, long way. And hopefully still to this day.
Yeah, I hope.
Thank
Me
you.
too.
You know, I mean, I have one little kind of a technical question for science, just because I'm curious, but it also goes to Toki. Did she make calls that you sort of got to recognize? I mean, I'm wondering if she made L-pod calls or Southern resident dialect whistles and calls.
You know, there were times when she was extremely vocal, and then there'd be times where she was nearly silent. And I don't really know. I never correlated it with like behavior or what was going on. The only thing I could tell you is that, you know, we had been tracking her ovulation during the 80s and 90s. And I believe she was extra vocal, but during her ovulation cycles like that. But I wouldn't be able to tell you if those calls, you know, I'm not familiar with how they all sound and all of that, but I wish I would have had recorded some of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't have any of that, but
Right,
she would periods of time where she was very vocal. Yeah.
Well, there was just one that was recorded and given to Ken in about 1991 that has been analyzed as being L-pod calls.
Wow.
But, yeah. So I just, you know, probably that's what you were hearing when she was vocal. It wasn't just animal vocal, you know, that was her family's language.
And I do remember they sounded repetitive and very, you know, like they weren't, it was like a bit of a song, break, same song again. Break.
That's them.
Same song again. That's how I remember that.
You heard her talking L-pod. Yeah.
Wow. It's such a shame she never got a response, you know. It breaks my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, Ken wanted to do that. He proposed it formally to
I know.
Yeah, to do a two-way hookup, you know, just have a phone and a speaker in each location.
I remember, and I was there then, and I advocated for that. I'm like, what harm could that do? Let's do this. And they were like, no, it's going to throw her off. It'll make her behavior weird. She'll flip out. And I'm like, you don't know that. don't assume these things, and so they wouldn't let us do it. And I remember
being wanted to control the narrative, I think,
they didn't. Yeah. So, but that was a mistake.
Yeah.
There was a lot of mistakes. And you know what? We don't have to abide by the past mistakes. We can correct. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's fix it. We can
So
do
thank
that.
you. Yeah. Well, I'm just full of gratitude. I'm so glad you could come on. I hope you can come on again, and I'm going to read your book.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm happy to come back anytime. And if you guys ever want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook. Ask away. I'll answer questions. I'll find more pictures for you, Annette. Still going through piles of them, so I'll find more, and I'll keep putting them out there, and we'll share more stories.
Thank you. And so people are putting the link to your book on there, and I just want to say thank you. It's interesting how Toki's voice through you, and you write a book and being willing to have the proceeds going to her return home. So just thank you.
Whatever we can do, let's help this girl get home.
Can I say something before we leave?
I was going to say, everyone, real super short, because we want her to come back. Everyone super short. Go ahead and thank Marcia for her time with us. Alejandro, go ahead.
Thank you, Marcia, for bringing these amazing stories. And like you said, we don't have to underestimate TokiTV because we will bring her home. She's an hurricane fighting against another hurricane, and she will win. She's a warrior. She's a nation. And we all united, working together, we will bring her home in 2023. So people, stay tuned.
I love it, Alejandro. Lon?
Everything that everybody said, I just can't thank you enough. And I always felt that there was someone missing from the pod, and it was you. Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, you were the missing part that we were looking for. And as time goes on, you will realize we are all pod.
Thank you. I'm honored to be a member of your pod. Thank you.
Always. Yes.
Awesome. Christina?
I just wanted to say I'm in awe, just like everyone else, and I'm so happy that you got to spend time with her and that you honor her the way she should be honored, and that's just really special. And I'm so happy that you're here. And yeah, pod, we're all sisters, sister. Okay.
Pod power. Yep. Let's do this.
Carla?
And brothers. Sorry.
Well, Marcia, I just have one thing to tell you, and it's that I really wish that you are there when she gets back home. You have to be there because you shared with her 8 years of your life, so you have to be there.
Oh, I'll be there.
She's back.
I don't care what happens. I'll walk there from Florida.
Please, you have to be there.
I will be there. I promise.
Just call me. We can go together, Marcia.
It's going to be the
Yeah,
party
right.
of a lifetime.
That sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, Marcia, please do come back in about an hour and a half. So thank you for hanging in with us. I know we would keep you on here we'll be like tomorrow, like hanging out. But
I have another question.
yeah. Oh, one more thing. So we're going to not do that to you today so that you do come back and join us. And thank you. So what I'll do is I'll just play a quick video from the shores there of the Salish Sea, and we're going to listen to Shirley Bob's song, the farewell song, which is not goodbye. We will see you again, because we will see her again. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to play the song and show the pictures. How about that? So we see some more pictures of Toki.
That sounds good.
Good night, everyone. And Marcia, if you want to hang out, you can hang out after the show. It's up to you. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut. Sk'aliCh'elh-tenaut,